Hi, this is Sherry, and we are going to continue on this fruit game. We have previously made our bowl wrap around the screen. We made our fruit fall from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen, and we got a point if we caught it in the bowl, and we nothing happened if you missed it. Now we want to make something happen if you miss it. So, in order to make that happen, let's test and see what we've got. I think I have everything separated, so it should just be collecting points now. Let's find out. So I got a point for catching. That was too easy to catch. And let's miss one. Nothing happened. Perfect. So what I want to happen is to lose a point when I miss the apple. So in order to make that happen, actually, I can think of several ways to code this. And you might already know of several ways to code this and think of other things. Like one of my ideas that I've done so many times is to go to the backdrops and draw a line at the bottom. And if it touches that color, then you lose a point. That's a fantastic way to code it. Totally works. I wanted to try this if touching edge. So I'm going to pull this code up here. So if this apple is touching the edge, but keep in mind the edge can be top, bottom, left, or right, then we want to lose a point. So change points by -1. And I want to make a different sound. So let's go to the sounds and find a losing sound. I think there is one called lose. They're in alphabetical order. There it is. That is not, that's too long. I don't want that one. Let's see. That's not bad. No, that's too long. We'll use this one just for now. It doesn't really matter. So you can pick a sound that you want when you lose a point, and I'm going to change the sound now to rattle. So it's going to rattle if they miss it, if it hits the edge. So the question is, where do we put this if it hits the edge? We want to hide the apple, change the points by -1, and start that sound to rattle. I'm going to try putting it right here. So it's going to check every 10 steps. You might recall from the last video, every 10 steps, it's going to check to see if it's touching the bowl, and then it's going to check to see if it's touching the edge. And I'll give you a little hint. I've already played with some of these numbers. In the last video, we had our apple start way up here at 180. But in order for it not to touch the edge at the top, I had to drop it down to 160 because when I had it go to a random spot at y=180, it was touching the edge and I was just losing bunches and bunches and bunches of points like all at one time. So to avoid that problem, I changed y to 160 and that worked. That meant I also had a change in my distance. So remember, this repeat loop is calculated by the distance from the top to the bottom. Now I'm going from 160 to 180, which is a distance of 340. So divide by 10 and I get 34 repeats of moving 10 steps down. So now it's going to check every 10 steps. Is it touching the bowl? Is it touching the edge? We know it won't touch the edge at the top. What's it going to do when it touches the edge at the bottom? It will not work perfectly, but let's take a look. Caught that one, so I got a point. I missed that one and I got -1, so that's good. Then I got 2 negative points there. Let's get it back to 0 if I can before I miss one. So now let's see if I miss it. Should be -1. I got -2. Now I have -36. What? Okay, so it's like gimpy, right? And we can figure out why it's gimpy. Let's take a look. As soon as every 10 steps is checking to see if it touched the bowl. And so every 10 steps, 34 times, all the way down, it's checking to see if it touched the bottom edge. Honestly, I don't need it to check for the bottom edge until after it's gone through 34 times. That's still not going to be my perfect solution, but I want to show that to you. So I'm going to try moving the if outside of that repeat loop. I got a point, got another point. Let's miss it. Should subtract 1. It did. Down to 0. -1. That seems to be working. If you find for some reason that isn't working perfectly for you, actually, this is working pretty great right now. I had it not work so great for me before. So what I did, and if you have this problem, you can teach this to the kids as well, is I had put inside, if it touches the edge, I hide it, and then I set Y to 160 to shoot it back to the top, not touching the edge, also not touching the edge at the bottom, and then I didn't have to worry about losing multiple points at once. This time, that seemed to be working with no problem, so kind of don't need that. That's pretty cool. And right now it seems to be working. I can collect a point, and I can lose points. All right. Perfect. So it is working. Now we can lose points if we miss the apple. And another thing that we can do is change the speed of our apple so that it's not always the same speed when it falls. And we will do that next time.